Hi there, thanks for joining us for this video today. It's future me coming in to tell you what we are about to see in this video. My name is Natalie and we are getting ready to go on a 10-day long road trip to the West Coast from Montana. So we'll be camping 9 nights, moving to a different campsite every single day, visiting 4 different national parks, 3 state parks, and 5 states. So come along for the journey and see what we see. We have just completed night 1 of our West Coast road trip. We left after work yesterday at 5 p.m. and headed to a campground right on the other side of the Montana-Idaho border and stayed there last night. We got there after dark and then left at like 7 this morning. So we just got up, packed up camp, and left. And now we are headed to Craters of the Moon, where we'll stop and look around, and then we're going to do another stop in Idaho for a couple of things that we forgot, and then head on to Crater Lake National Park. We just came, what was the big town? Boise. I want to say Du Bois for a second, and I was like, that doesn't make sense. We just came through Boise. We stopped at In-N-Out for lunch because we don't have In-N-Out in Montana. And now we're continuing through the middle of nowhere, Idaho. And we're just surrounded by farm fields the entire drive, so it's really pretty. Currently estimated to get to Crater Lake at like 7:30, so another full day of driving. Last night we camped right beside Crater Lake National Park. We camped in a National Forest campground, not the National Park campground. When we got up this morning, we just packed up camp, walked Sky around, and then headed into the park. We were leaving camp by 7:45 a.m., spent a few hours in the park. We just looked at some of the viewpoints and different things that there are to see inside of the park. We didn't do any hiking just due to the time that we had, and it was pretty windy, so the weather wasn't super great for hiking, and we had Sky. Sky's not allowed on most of the trails, just a couple of them. And then we went by the visitor center. I always like to get a junior ranger program when available because it's just a fun way to learn about the park. And we were leaving there before lunchtime. Headed out, we stopped in a town on the way to Redwoods National Park, and we grabbed some lunch at Chick-fil-A, grabbed a couple of items that we were running low on or needed more of, regassed, and now we are continuing on to the Redwoods, and we'll be there for tonight. We left the Redwoods pretty early this morning and headed up back into Oregon. Originally, we planned on driving the Oregon coast, but due to a highway closure, we ended up driving through the mountains and it was still really pretty. We have now made it to the coast and we're staying at a state park today. We've still got a few hours till we can check into our campsite, so we're just doing some hiking through the rainforest and along the coast, watching the sea lions. We have just completed night 4 of our road trip. We stayed last night at a state park in Oregon, right on the coast. It's in pretty southern Oregon, so just on the other side of the border. We hiked around a little bit in the park yesterday before checking into our campsite, and then we just had a chill evening at camp. Sat around the campfire, read books, played some card games, had grilled cheese for dinner, and then this morning when we woke up, we took this little guy on like a mile-long hike. There is like a hike through the rainforest connected to our campground. And since we've been staying at national parks, she hasn't really gotten to do a ton of hiking, so we decided to capitalize on that while we were here and before we do some more driving. We are driving from a different campsite every single day of this trip, so we've been trying to walk every morning, whether that's around the campground or on a trail, depending on what is allowed. And now that we are done with our little hike, we've packed up camp, and then we are going to head north into Oregon. We're going to follow the coast the entire way and then kind of go inland a little bit, and we're going to see another Oregon State Park that's supposed to have a really pretty waterfall at it. Don't know much about it, but I'm excited. Depending on how we feel, we'll either hike that today or later. We have officially made it to our next campsite. We finished up our time in Silver Falls State Park in Oregon this morning. Last night we did get woken up by a cougar in our campsite in the middle of the night, so we didn't all sleep the best last night, but we still got up and did the rest of the 10 Falls loop. We did 3 of the waterfalls the day before, and then this morning we woke up and did the other ones, so we did like a little over 5 miles this morning, and then went back, broke down camp, left, grabbed some lunch on the way out, and then now we are at Fort Stevens State Park in near Astoria, Oregon, and we're just staying here for tonight before heading up to Olympic National Park tomorrow, which we are very excited for. We have officially made it to Olympic National Park. We left Fort Stevens really early this morning. After we woke up, we just headed out since we knew we had another long day. We stopped at Ruby Beach when we made it to Olympic, and then we went down towards the Hoh Rainforest Visitor Center, and when we got here, we realized they had a first come, first serve campground, and they had spots available, and we were 2 hours from Solduck, where we had reservations, so we decided to just go ahead and get a campsite here so that we didn't have to do 2 more hours of driving since it was already 2 o'clock. So we're just kind of hanging around camp, enjoying the rainforest. They haven't had a whole lot of rain here this year, so the rainforest is not as green as I'm assuming it usually is, but it's still really pretty. We have made it to our campsite near Port Angeles. We were only 2 hours from where we stayed in Olympic National Park last night, and we're having a campsite that is in a national recreation area right on the ocean. We woke up this morning and had some breakfast. There were a bunch of elk on our site, so we enjoyed watching them this morning, and then headed into Port Angeles. Stocked up on a few groceries we were running low on, like some bread and some meat, because we've only got 2 nights left of our trip, and we're just kind of hanging out here. We're gonna walk around a little bit, just having a chill day, and then tomorrow we head to North Cascades. We left camp early this morning because we have a 10:15 ferry ride to get to Northern Cascades. It's faster to take the ferry than it is to just drive through Seattle up to Northern Cascades. So we made a reservation for 10:15. We are having to get first come first serve sites in Northern Cascades because they don't take reservations this late in the season. So fingers crossed that taking a 10:15 ferry is not going to mean we can't find first come first serve sites, because if not, our time in Northern Cascades is going to be very short, because then we're going to have to find somewhere to stay because we're driving home tomorrow and we are 10 hours from where we live in Montana. So we got quite the drive tomorrow, but I'm very excited for Northern Cascades because the leaves have started to change on the way. Thanks for joining us on this super fun trip that we have just finished to the West Coast. This was a dream trip for us. We've been planning it for a while and we were very excited to be able to do this at the end of September. We do feel like we did a little more than we probably should have on in this trip, with us moving every day and driving a minimum of 4 hours each day. We did end up finding a campsite in North Cascades and stayed there. We were pretty tired by this point, so as you could tell, I forgot to film very much while we were in North Cascades, but it was a beautiful park. It ended up raining on our drive back, as we were leaving North Cascades, so we didn't end up doing any hiking in North Cascades. So we'd like to go back at some point, but we just left there and did the 10-hour drive back home to Montana. But overall, this turned out to be an amazing trip. The redwoods blew my mind. Crater Lake was even prettier in person than I thought it would be. Olympic National Park and North Cascades National Park are amazing, and I need to go back to those and spend more time at them doing some hiking and things like that. And I think we also learned from this trip we might be getting a little too old to camp for 10 days straight, but we made some amazing memories and we probably will be doing it again before long. Just maybe not as much driving each day, but the memories you make while camping, sleeping on the ground, being outside in nature are so amazing. And looking back on this trip, it was a great trip and we accomplished so many bucket list things. We saw sea lions on the West Coast. We saw so many views. We drove about half of Highway 101, which is one of Christian's goals in life, is to drive the entire highway. I went to California and Oregon for the first time, and I got 4 more national parks, and I'm hoping to eventually visit all of them. So got a lot of things done. So hopefully we can have some more trips soon and I can share those with you. Thanks for joining us.